Hey guys, Coach here. Welcome to this week's episode. Hey, this particular episode we're calling the next step. The next step that we took after our Boulder Island backyard project that you've seen in the past couple of weeks. This particular one is called the next step because we came back out front and started to decorate up the driveway entrance area and also the back hill area, which you'll see in a separate video. So I hope you enjoy it. We're going to talk about moving boulders. We're going to talk about soil. We're going to talk about plantings, weather, etc. So glad you're here. Let's get started, shall we? Hey everybody, welcome back. Thanks for staying with me. Hey, this particular video called Next Step is the next step in our evolution of our landscape here at Brook and Pond. We are going to be using a lot of materials that are already on site, not only leftover boulders from the backyard project, but also these as well. These boulders here were already on site and in a spot there that just didn't serve any real purpose for us anyway. So, hey, I bridled them up. I could not lift them with JD here. JD would not pick these guys up, so kind of had to bridle them up and just drag them initially. And there was a lot of intrepidation about some of this because I was kind of off camber getting down the driveway, etc., which you're going to see here in just a minute. This part coming up right here was like, homina, I think I'm going to do this a little differently. And safety really became a concern because I didn't want to tip over right there. So, hey, let's play it safe. I tried to move it, the bridle came undone, and I figured, I'm just going to see if JD can push it in place. And sure enough, we were able to take it and just shove it down the hill and let gravity do its job. And it worked out really well. These boulders are no joke. I mean, they're not a 1-man, 2-man, or any size boulder. These guys are around 700 to 800 pounds each. And the tractor, although it saved my bacon I don't know how many times, it had its limits, and some of them they just could not pick up. This particular boulder here, what a pain in the butt. No matter what I can do, I could not push it into place. So I had to dig out and tunnel behind it and then be able to shove it in so that it wasn't kind of sticking out in the driveway, and it worked out really well. Tactics and techniques, you got to adjust as you do it. This particular boulder was right on the edge of the hill, and I had to pull it back where I could actually work on it safely. And I got Maestro involved, and we were able to bridle this one up and get it down there and get it in place. But the hillside and the driveway always gave me a little bit of the willies, especially when it was dangling and I was kind of off balance type of thing, and how I could get those things to nest together as best as possible. So I was able to do it. We were fortunate to be able to get it done fairly efficiently in the one morning, and they all went together. And the thing that I love about it the most here is they were already here. They were already part of the purchase of the home, so we were very blessed to have the access and use of them. And they're very, very robust in size. Hey, nice shoes. And so they're going to hold a lot of soil for planting capability behind them. And they're not going to move. These things are not going to go anywhere at 700-800 pounds. They're where you put them, you're going to have to drag them out of there to change stuff up. It's not like they're going to collapse on me or they're going to deteriorate like a retaining wall. No, they're going to be in place forever. This particular one, this was a leftover from the backyard project, and it was one of the larger ones. And I decided, okay, it's not the same colors right now, but once I wash them off and get rid of that gray silties, it's still going to work out really well. And it has, and you'll see it towards the end of the video. You really can't tell that it came from a different source. You can see that we have shaly gray boulders, we have some river boulders, and mix and match. And as long as the plant material looks good, eventually the boulders are all going to look about the same. This particular one, we had to pull it out of the way from this utility bed But man, when I did, I realized I just unearthed tens of thousands of harvester ants from a nest that was underground. Yeah, we had to give them a few minutes to kind of get out of the area. So the next morning, hey, the soil arrived. And this was about 5.5 yards, cubic yards of soil dumped. And if you look in front of that tractor right there, you'll see the ruts that the delivery truck left. Look right at the left of my knees. Yeah, I'm gonna have to try to pitchfork those back up to grade a little bit because the lawn was wet. And I kind of feared it, but I didn't have anything to protect it. I didn't have any plywood or anything to put down for the truck. So planting day, planting morning, planting afternoon. One of my favorite times is when I get to lay out a bed, space things out, coordinate colors, what it's going to look like in 3 years, not just today. Where's the viewing angles, and what is my eye or a visitor's eye going to see as opposed to just throwing stuff out there. And it's part of the designer in me. It really is. It's a very enjoyable and a passion for being able to put something together that really looks good and not just the day of planting. Because like babies, there's no real ugly baby. There's no ugly kitten. There's no ugly puppy. And a landscape is very much the same thing. You can put plants in the ground. You can put fresh mulch on them. You can have nice boulders. But it's 3, 5, and 10 years down the road of what it looks like is the true test of a designer's vision. So in doing this particular bed here, it took me about 45 minutes, maybe an hour before I actually got all the plants in the ground. And it took me about 15 minutes or so to lay things out and to stand back and look at them a second. And you can see the old codger's getting a little tired because it was a hot day. It was probably 87 degrees with the same amount of humidity. And it was one of those 4 t-shirt afternoons because I was just drenched with all the sweat. This t-shirt here was probably the 3rd one of the day. And getting off and getting into the planting phase, every single plant that goes in the ground for me, the last one was planted just as perfectly as the first one. And I never, ever want to change that because why would you do 25 plants perfectly and do 2 imperfectly and have them die on you? So you have to pay attention and stay focused throughout the whole planting process. One of the things I suggest is taking your container and rubbing it in the ground just a little bit and leaving a mark there. And then do your digging and your planting in correlation to that mark that you've left. That way, when you get done, everything is going to look exactly like you laid it out. Where if you just start digging where the plant is, or you tend to move a plant to plant a plant, sometimes it doesn't go back exactly, and you will see it at the end of your job. So mark the dirt with your container and then dig exactly that, and do that for every single plant. And things turn out much more successfully, much more symmetric as you intended it to be. And when you stand back and look at it, everything is balanced visually like you saw it when you first laid things out. One of the things that I was concerned about here is the stratification, the nice, beautiful, soft loam on top of the harder native soil. So when I'm digging down at the back of the bed here with these hydrangeas and the rhododendron, I actually dug down into the native soil a few inches. And then when I amended, I knew, at least for the plant area itself specifically, there wasn't going to be any stratification where roots would develop and then roots would go down and then stratify along the harder native soil. This way they can penetrate down into the soil, adapt, and yet still enjoy the loam for their first few years, no problem. You notice that I'm doing a 50-50 mix. Every single plant got a 50-50 mix in the hole and backfilling of the planting mix as well as the loam that was there. really good success stories come out of this 50-50 mix. You're trying to not shock the plant by putting it in a totally different environment that it's accustomed to living in. If you look at the consistency of what it was growing in, you try to mimic that at least 50% when you put it in the ground of where it's going to live. So consider that 50-50 mix when you're doing it. The other thing that you might want to consider, unless you've written it down somewhere, is what varieties are you putting in the ground? You'll notice that I left some tags on the hydrangea in the background. The salvia there, I took the tag off of it and I put it in the ground. So if someone asks me 2 years from now, hey, what type of salvia do you have down there? I think it was Maynite. I'm not sure. But now I can always go in and I can check it. And I don't leave them in there forever, but I leave them in there initially. Probably old habits to tell a customer and prove to a customer that what they purchased is what got planted. And I think that habit just carries over into my own stuff. So something to think about. You notice the rhododendron there also had the original tag on it. What variety was it? Don't remember. You know, getting off into the annuals here, don't forget to treat them just like you're planting shrubs and trees. Everything should get maybe not as big a hole, but it should be amended. It should be water basined. The only thing that I would suggest on annuals is maybe not to pack them down quite as much as a shrub or a tree. Don't backfill them quite as hard. You can give them a little water basin, and then when you water them, allow the water to be the settler of the soil, not your hands or your shovel handle or anything else. It's better to treat them with a little lighter glove than you would hardier perennials, shrubs, and trees, especially annual vinca, which tend to be kind of prissy as far as I'm concerned. I used them because I thought the color match would do very well, but sometimes they can get kind of finicky. They really can, and they take a while to get established. So I don't expect to see a whole lot of color from them until next month for sure. But wrapping up the annuals and wrapping up this bed, you can see that everything is still spaced the way I had originally intended it to be, and things went pretty well. I would say about an hour to get all these guys in, and the rinse and repeat method I can't stress enough. First plant gets all the attention, the last plant gets all the attention, and every one of them in between. You can grade and smooth, and you can do everything you can in order to get those things in, but it's going to be the process that you develop that you find is where your success comes from. Okay, time to clean up a little bit, give everything a little bit of a drink. I also use the practice of pre-watering everything before it goes in the ground. I do not plant a dry plant ever. So all of these got probably an hour before they went in the ground a good drink. And then the watering that I'm doing now is almost more for soil settling rather than plant needing water. And then just giving each of them a little drink, letting the basin settle down a little bit, and then we will get ready for rake off and mulching here in just a second. So in a process of 2 days, we went from absolutely nothing here except dead vegetation and struggling forest carpet type of plants, cleaned it out, and then brought in the boulders, and then brought in the soil, and then brought in the plants. And this is the end result. A beautification to see as you're driving up the driveway from the road area. And it's going to get better each and every season. So jumping across the driveway, this is the utility bed. Obviously a much smaller bed in scale, but the dry stack stone that encloses this bed was a bit of a challenge. The hillside here, which you'll see the steepness of it, required me to dig into the hill to level the edges of the boulders and be able to put them in so they would stay in place and not slough off or slide down the hill in any way. And it turned out pretty good. This took about 2.5 good scoops of tractor bucket size loads of loam to backfill it. And then it's just a placement of the plants. This particular bed is kind of unique because where you see me putting those Jack of Diamonds, Brunera there, and now the ferns, this is the shady part of this bed. And yet down in the front where I'm putting the petunias, it gets sun 6 or 8 hours, but not where that utility pole and back is because of the spruce tree cover that's up above it. So I got a little bit of color that I can put in along the driveway and then shade stuff in and behind the rest of the bed. And nothing changes here. Everything is planted exactly the same as I did on the other side, and do it in a fast and efficient manner. Have you ever noticed that, I don't know, it sounds corny, but it's almost like plants know when someone is handling them, that they know what they're doing. I have seen people mamby-pamby plants and get them in the ground and really baby them, and only to have them die. And yet I treat them, I kind of treat them somewhat brutally in a way, and yet I have a very, very high percentage of success. I think I lost, since this planting video, I lost one of those vincas on the other side, and that's it. And like I said, vinca can be kind of stubborn anyway. But the ferns, the Jack of Diamonds, everything that's going in here, they look fantastic a week later. There's no sign of transplant shock or anything else. And it's because of the processes that I go through that I think the success comes out of that experience and the fact that I just, like I said, sometimes I wonder if they know when they're being handled by someone who knows what they're doing. And just get in and get it done. Rough up the roots a little bit, get them in there, backfill them firmly, keep them up above grade just a little bit, give them a water basin, and move on to the next one. Don't mess around and mamby-pamby them. They know. I don't know how to explain it. It sounds corny, but I'm a true believer in it, and I think it works. What do you guys think? Leave a comment below and let me know. Finally, the last plant, last one of the day. Day's getting late. It's probably about 7:30 right about now, and it's time to get that hosta in and get some rake off done and move on for sure. That hosta, that ain't bad for $4 at a garage sale, do you think? That's pretty good. That would be a $25 hosta, probably a $30 hosta in some mom and pop nurseries, let me tell you. And yet there it is. It looks really good. Yep, there it goes. Maestro picks up the garbage. That girl, I can't set anything down for 5 seconds before she's already on it and it's up in the wheelbarrow. Keeping a good, clean job site only results in a good, clean finish. So there's the finished bed. Watered in, a little bit of a hand grading going on, and I think it's much improved compared to what it was. What do you guys think? Do you like the ferns? I think those autumn bracken ferns with their brand new coppery new growth is really special. And I think probably 3 years down the road, I'll probably be able to divide some of that just a little bit and place them in other parts of the yard. Okay, so the next morning, mulching stuff up. Getting the mulch in and raking it out first to make sure everything is as even, as level, at dirt level as you can make it. That way the mulch is going to sit a lot better in the bed. And that particular mulch is left over from the backyard project. We did not have to go buy more. I think there was 9 or 10 that were still back there out of the 55 that we bought. And these run about a little less than $5 a bag. But this is the finishing touch. And I'll tell you, some people scoff at mulch. I do not. I think it's a great way, especially when you've imported soft, loamy soils like this. It's a great way to stabilize the bed and not have washouts. And it allows the root zone to be much cooler for new plants And also, eventually it will break down a little bit. You may have to replace it, but so what? At least I know that these plants are going to be in place and they're not going to slough off down the hillside, because the water is going to be allowed to be taken in slowly through the mulch. And that mulch will eventually break down and make the soil just that much better over the years. So I'm a big proponent of organic mulch. So there's the triangle bed after we put the boulders in. And there's the finished product. Something that's only going to get better with time, in my humble opinion. And it's going to look slick driving up the driveway. We may or may not put lights or something on it. I don't know. I doubt it. But it's much improved. Now it's time for some lawn trees in the background back there. But that's later on down the road. What do you guys think? Drop a comment below and let me know what you think it looks like. There's the steepness of the utility bed before we finished it off and dug in and made it look like something. And there's the finished product with the dry stacked boulder ring backfilled and planted. Hey, I hope you enjoyed this particular episode. We did a little smaller scale than what we did in the backyard, but we did have some challenges as far as moving big old boys like this down a steep driveway hill, dealing with weather, and then also plant selection, which wasn't hard. I actually consider that a very enjoyable thing. If you guys have any questions on how we did certain things or why we did them, hey, drop them in the comments below. And I'm also asking everybody out there that if you happen to get something of value from this, then please hit that subscribe button and give me a thumbs up so that I can start increasing subscriber levels and not just have viewer levels as well. Hey, I'll see you guys next week. As always, to your landscape success, don't forget to visit the website, youryardcoach.com, if you're looking for a great instructional course or book, and also a couple of the checklists. Goodbye for now.